What if I told you punk didn't begin with the Sex Pistols or the Ramones, but with raw, feral records in the early 70s that lit a fuse no one could contain? Punk wasn't born in safety pins and sneers. It was carved out of boredom, rebellion, and total rejection of everything that came before. Some of these songs barely made the charts, others were too dangerous for radio, and a few vanished, only to be resurrected as punk's holy scripture. One band played so sloppy it redefined cool. Another wrote lyrics so nihilistic they were blamed for riots. And one track? It featured a teenage scream so primal it kicked open the doors to CBGB and beyond. Who were these anti-heroes, and which track shattered the mold of 1970s rock forever? Stick around. This is 10 songs from the 70s that gave birth to punk rock. Number 10, Kick Out the Jams by MC5. It dropped just before the 70s, but lit the fuse that the decade couldn't contain. MC5 didn't play at the crowd, they tried to ignite them. Kick Out the Jams was full blast energy, distorted, chaotic, and politically charged. The opening line, a profanity that got the album banned in chain stores and made it legendary.
Kick out the jams, mo.
Way before punk had a name, this was its adrenaline. MC5 proved that being loud and angry wasn't just okay, it was the point. Next, a British band that took that same fire, then doused it in sarcasm and glitter. Number 9, Personality Crisis by New York Dolls. They looked like drag queens, played like punks, and partied like rock stars. The New York Dolls fused glam, sleaze, and street attitude into Personality Crisis. A track that was too wild for radio but perfect for punk's rise. Their sound was raw and sludgy, like the stones on a subway bender, but underneath the trash glam aesthetic was a sneering genius. They didn't preach, they mocked, and in doing so, they laid the swagger-filled groundwork for the Ramones and beyond. Now brace yourself, because the next song, it's considered the first real punk record. Number 8, Neat 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 by The Damned. If punk rock had a starting gun, this was it. The Damned beat the Sex Pistols and the Clash to the punch, dropping Neat 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 in early '77 with a breakneck tempo and machine gun guitars. It wasn't just fast, it was frantic. Every note is like a punch to the chest. Rat Scabby's drums, utter chaos. Brian James's riffs, unhinged. This wasn't rebellion with a message, it was rebellion as a lifestyle. No polish, no pretense. Just pure, adrenalized noise from the UK underground that would go on to inspire everyone from hardcore kids to goth pioneers. And speaking of kids, number 7, Blitzkrieg Bop by Ramones. Hey, ho, let's go. If there's a punk Mount Rushmore, the Ramones are on it, probably all 4 of them. Blitzkrieg Bop wasn't political or poetic. It was 2 minutes of distilled chaos, power chords, chant-along lyrics, and a tempo that made your heart race. The genius? Simplicity. 3 chords, a catchy hook, and attitude for days. It sounded like a band that had just learned their instruments, and that was exactly the point. You didn't need training, you just needed nerve. The Ramones made punk accessible and gave birth to a million garage bands in the process. But next up, a British band that made punk dangerous. Number 6, New Rose by The Damned. Yeah, they're back, because history demands it. While the Sex Pistols were still teasing mayhem, The Damned delivered it. New Rose was the first official punk single released in the UK, and it sounded like a Molotov cocktail in vinyl form. Dave Vanion's sneering vocals, Captain Sensible's frantic guitar, and Rat Scabies' out-of-control drums, this wasn't music for the masses. It was for the kids in torn jeans and safety pins, screaming against everything. The lyrics weren't political, but the energy was war. The Damned didn't care about the charts. They just wanted to break something. And they did. Expectations, norms, and every live venue they tore through. But just when punk was getting its UK roots, something raw and poetic was brewing in Detroit. Number 5, Gloria by Patti Smith. Jesus died for somebody's sins, but not mine. That opening line alone kicked open the doors to punk's intellectual side. Patti Smith didn't just make music, she conjured art, fury, and poetry into a punk spell. Her version of Gloria wasn't a cover, it was a manifesto. She took the garage rock original and drenched it in spoken word, sarcasm, and defiance. It was sensual, it was spiritual, it was punk. In the truest, most soul-ripping sense. Smith gave punk a voice that could whisper, shout, and demand your soul. And next, we enter the wastelands with a band that made noise the ultimate weapon. Number 4, TVI by the Stooges. Iggy Pop didn't just perform punk, he bled it. TVI is the sound of a wild animal caught in a concrete jungle. The opening scream isn't just a vocal, it's a detonation. The band doesn't play so much as attack, with Ron Ashton's guitar sounding like it's clawing at the walls of the studio. There's no polish here, no pretense. Just pure, volatile energy from a frontman who crawled across broken glass, smeared peanut butter on his chest, and invented what it meant to be punk. TVI was primal. And for the misfits of the 70s, it was permission to let go of everything. But now, we hit the moment punk got massive, thanks to a group that brought anarchy to your living room. Number 3, Anarchy in the UK by Sex Pistols. This is where the match hit the gasoline. With a sneer in every syllable, Johnny Rotten declared war on everything: the Queen, the system, the entire establishment. Anarchy in the UK wasn't just a song, it was a political statement, a middle finger raised high and proud. The riff was raw and choppy, the drums tight and nasty, but it was the attitude that detonated. The Sex Pistols weren't just a band, they were a bomb in a leather jacket. Number 2, Final Solution by Pere Ubu. While New York and London were throwing punches, Cleveland was mutating. Final Solution by Pere Ubu wasn't just punk, it was post-everything. Released in 1976, this track ditched the speed freak swagger of the Ramones and instead built a sonic Frankenstein out of industrial noise, garage rock, and existential dread. It sounded like punk after the meltdown, crawling from the radioactive rubble with distorted synths and apocalyptic howls. David Thomas didn't sing. He warned, like a preacher in a broken machine. The guitar lurches, the rhythm staggers, and the chorus, "I don't need a final solution," feels like a cold slap to conformity. Pere Ubu weren't chasing pogo pits or leather jackets. They were laying down blueprints for sonic youth, 9-inch nails, and every art punk weirdo who ever wanted to burn it all down with feedback and fear. Forget fashion. Final Solution was the sound of punk turning inward, uglier, weirder, and a whole lot more dangerous. Number 1, Search and Destroy by Iggy and the Stooges. This wasn't music. This was a battle cry. Search and Destroy opens with one of the nastiest riffs ever burned to tape, a sonic gut punch that hits before Iggy even opens his mouth, but when he does, I'm a street-walking cheetah with a heart full of napalm. No metaphor, no subtlety, just rage and recklessness, spat like venom over a beat that never lets up. It was chaos with purpose, the DNA of punk before the genre had a name. Iggy was the anti-hero, the wounded prophet, the king of the underground. And Search and Destroy wasn't just a song, it was a manifesto. Those were the 10 groundbreaking songs that gave birth to punk rock in the 70s. These tracks weren't just fast or loud, they were defiant. They challenged the mainstream, stripped rock down to its rawest form, and handed the mic to the misfits, rebels, and revolutionaries. But which track hit you hardest? Which band screamed your truth? Drop it in the comments, we read every one. And if you thought this was wild, just wait till you hear what happened when rock threw on mascara, turned up the glam, and hit the Sunset Strip in the 80s. You're not done yet. Click the end screen to watch 10 groundbreaking 80s songs that gave birth to glam metal, and discover how rock's wildest makeover took over the world. Because if punk burned the rule book, glam set the ashes on fire. We'll see you in the next one.